and long. Mike Matheny about 2 hours ago was at a table with Bill DeWitt, as well as Michael Gersh, John Mozeliak, and Paul DeYoung, as they have announced a 6-year contract extension for the Cardinals shortstop, so he'll be in the fold for quite some time. Meanwhile, Luke Weaver gets the call today. He's only 24 years of age, the 27th overall pick back in 2014, and my partner made a bold statement, and then we were talking about it before we came back from the commercial break. You really believe at some point in his career he could be a Cy Young candidate?
You take a look at his stuff, that he's got that drop and drive mechanics, so he's got that true rise fastball that's hard to hit. Now, as a hitter, when somebody has a fastball that rises like that, you have to get ready a tick early because you can't just drop the barrel on. You got to keep the barrel above the hands. So when he's able to mix in that changeup like that, I mean, it's almost unhittable to me. The changeup is the great equalizer of baseball. And then you take into account how young he is and how poised he is, the way he's able to move the ball around the strike zone. If he can continue to do that, I think he'll be absolutely dominant. He just has to stay out of the trap of trying to throw too hard, which some young pitchers do.
So take a look at the split screen, and Rick Ankiel knows this all so well. A pitcher that's got a good fastball. There's that late rise, and then the changeup too.
Absolutely, and you see everything coming out of the exact same arm slot, and that's the thing. As a hitter, you can't pick anything up. They look the same. You go to get ready. One's a fastball, it's by you. The other one's a changeup. This kid is absolutely nasty. I love him. He kind of reminds me of Max Scherzer. I feel like as he gets older, as he matures, and that mental edge starts to come with it, it's going to be lightning.
7-2 in 13 starts a year ago. There's Mike Maddox, former pitching coach, by the way, with the Nationals. Derek Lilliquist, the former Cardinals pitching coach, now with Washington. So Luke Weaver gets the call here this afternoon. Old buddy Matt Adams is in the lineup for the Nationals, signed as a free agent. It'll be Trey Turner, Adams, and Robles, then Montero, Sierra, Marmolejos, Reynolds, Stevenson, and Sanchez, the starting 9 for the Nationals. And a lot expected out of Washington again this season. They were 97-65 a year ago. And Rick, you played with both the Cardinals and the Washington Nationals, so some of the young kids that we see today in particular with Washington, you've got a pretty good feel about some of these kids, and they've got good prospects coming up.
Yes, they do. They certainly do. This guy we see here now, Trey Turner, he can absolutely fly. If he puts one in play here, pay attention to how quick he goes from home to first.
And quickly, it's no balls and 2 strikes. He missed 2 months with a broken wrist last year as he had 284. But to back up your point about speed, he had 46 steals in just 98 games last year.
He can motor. It's something special to watch.
And he's tied up. A swing and a miss. Good start for Weaver, and the strikeout of Trey Turner.
That's exactly what we were talking about. Luke Weaver comes out, all 3 pitches, strikes him out, goes high. He can't lay off of it. This kid is awesome.
Nice round of applause for Matt Adams. Spent parts of 5 seasons with the Cardinals. They had 20 home runs a year ago. And the first pitch is popped foul and out of play. Adams is at first base today. Ryan Zimmerman will be there every day, first baseman, so he's essentially Adams replacing Adam Lind as a left-handed bat off the bench. And a backup first baseman and potential outfielders. That drops in for a base hit into shallow left. Look at the Cardinals defensively with Marcell Ozuna in left, a Gold Glover. Adolis Garcia has opened some eyes in this camp in center. Dexter Fowler will shift from center field to right field this year. Jerko, Garcia, Valera, and Martinez on the infield, and Yadier Molina is behind the plate. I was excited to see this young man in person. Victor Robles, as they check on Adams, the #1 prospect in their system. And what a return on their investment. He signed for $225,000 in 2013. He started last year at High A, which is Potomac, and he's hit by that pitch and eventually made it up to the big leagues. You had a chance to see this kid.
Oh, he's something special. You're talking about a true 5-tool player. He's actually faster than Trey Turner, which is hard to believe. But other than that, he has an absolute cannon from the outfield. He's starting to mature, and I think as he gets older, we are going to see a superstar.
So he's aboard. Runners at first and second. with 1 out. And it brings in Miguel Montero, who's the catcher today. Ironically, Montero is with the team that went 7 for 7 in stolen bases against him last June. He was with the Cubs at that time, and the next day, right after that, he was designated for assignment. 2-time All-Star. He has been with the Diamondbacks, the Cubs, finished up last year with the Blue Jays, and trying to catch on here with Washington.
Yeah, he got in some hot water. Kind of blamed it on the pitchers, but he was emotional, and he admitted that he made a mistake coming out and saying that to the media, because you should never go to the media. It should have been an in-clubhouse thing, and I understand what the Cubs did by designating him, and I think they did the right thing. They didn't want to break up the team or the camaraderie.
Nationals, the second best record in the league a year ago. They won the East, running away by 20 games. This is a team that was only out of first place for 3 days. And to tell you how tough this business is, Dusty Baker in 2 years averaged 96 wins in regular season play and gets fired, and they bring in Dave Martinez, his first season as the Nationals manager. 3-1.
From the Nationals side, I've heard nothing but great things. They seem to absolutely love Dave Martinez. He comes from that school of Joe Madden, where really tries to get the team together and the camaraderie and bring everybody through. And so far in spring, they really like this guy.
They had a camel day. He brought camels to camp one day. That's out of the Joe Madden playbook.
Was it a Wednesday?
It was. It was hump day. Ground ball hit to second. Can they turn 2? You bet. Double play. 4-6-3. Off the bat of Miguel Montero. Dexter Fowler leads it off. Many Cardinal fans here today. Dexter Fowler leads it off, followed by Greg Garcia and Yadier Molina here in the first. Marcelo Zuna, Jose Martinez, Jed Jerko, Luke Voigt, very good spring for him. Breivik Valera and Adolis Garcia, who's batting .389 this spring. And this is Tanner Roark, and he's got a chance to crack this rotation.
Yeah, he absolutely does. In 16, this guy was brilliant. He was really putting the ball where he wanted to go. At 17, he went and played in the World Baseball Classic. And he's even admitted that he got in his head last year. He didn't feel comfortable, and he's simplified his mechanics. And so far through this spring, he's been excellent.
Mentioned that World Baseball Classic. He started the semifinal game for Team USA against Japan. And at that point in his career, he said, it was the biggest start of my life, as the WBC has taken on greater importance as we go along.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a big deal. You're talking about you're not really ready to go, and a lot of people think that it kind of messed him up.
And Fowler looks at a pitch just inside, 1 ball and 1 strike. Dexter is in year 2 of a 5-year deal, and he will shift from center field to right field. Curveball that is tapped foul. My question to you, a guy that played all 3 outfield positions, Dexter saying he thinks it prolongs his career. Is it that simple, moving from center to right?
I think so. It's not easy. You know, in center field, the ball stays true, right? So the ball's always on a straight line. When you move to one of the corners, as a rule of thumb, the ball moves towards the lines. It's always tailing one way or the other, depending on the right-handed or the left-handed hitter. But, yeah, I think it definitely buys him some years over there. He doesn't have to chase as many balls down from center field. You don't have to cover as much ground. And your throws are actually shorter from the corner outfield. So I agree.
He said catching a baseball is not a big deal for him, so he moves to right field. That pitch, a changeup taken a little bit low to even it up at 2-2. Rotation for Washington could be really good if Roark can come back and get to the form that Rick was talking about a couple of years ago. And Dexter lifts a high fly ball out to right. Sierra's there to make the catch. But at the top of that rotation, in no particular order, you got Scherzer, Strasburg, Gio Gonzalez, Tanner Roark, and then probably a battle for that 4th or even 5th spot too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you'll have A.J. Cole and Eric Freddie battling for that 5th spot, and then possibly if they go out in the free agent market and maybe bring in an Arrieta or a Lynn. I mean, you're talking about some serious depth on this Nationals team.
Here's Greg Garcia. The first pitch lifted in the air out to left. And the center fielder takes charge and makes that play. This is a tough left field, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. During these spring training games down here at 1 o'clock, the sun is right in that left fielder's eye. And during the first inning, I was going to mention this. Marcell Ozuna, that base hit, you know, during the season, he's going to catch that, but because of that sun's the way it is, he has to play it safe. But it's tough out there.
You always see the left fielder just battle. I mean, routine fly balls. They're just battling.
It could turn into one in the chest when you can't see it, and it goes right in the sun.
So Stevenson is there in left, Robles and Sierra in the outfield. And a swing and a miss by Yadier Molina. Slow start for Yadi, 167 the average. Does have a home run at this ballpark to center and 1 RBI. He had 18 home runs a year ago. And it's 0-2.
That's a tough pitch right there, that cutter on the outside corner.
What are you seeing with mechanics in terms of simplified here?
Yeah, you know, he talked about simplifying it. You can see he's not going from the full windup there. He's almost starting from a stretch position, so there's less to go wrong. And it seems to be working. Everybody in Nationals camp said he's back to hitting his spots, and they think he's back to the form of 2016.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. And a swing and a miss, so Molina strikes out. And a 1-2-3 for Tanner Roark. No score after 1. Fredbird is here. Ice's Steak and Shake. Moises Sierra leads it off. We're in the top of the second, and there's no score here at Roger Dean Chevrolet Stadium. Rick Ankiel alongside. I'm Dan McLaughlin. Rick will be on our pre- and post-game shows, various spots throughout the summer. First pitch to Sierra is taken for a ball. Weaver hit a man, gave up a base hit in the first inning, and then got out of a jam with a double play.
Seeing that first inning, he came out firing strikes. Strike one, it seemed like this inning they're anticipating guys coming out swinging at that first pitch, and now we see 2 curveballs.
Here's a 2-0 pitch. Taken low. Don't see it all that often, but a pitcher wearing a single digit. He wears number 7. Luke Weaver. Originally drafted by the Blue Jays 19th round. There's a strike in 2011. And then a first round pick, 27th overall in 2014. 3-2. Sierra has seen big league time in a couple of different spots. Toronto and the Chicago White Sox. And per Major League rule, you got to make sure that you send major leaguers, at least a good portion of them, to start the game as you sell Major League tickets to the fans.
The lady literally went like this.
And the 3-2. Grounder, base hit, as Martinez thought about diving after that ball, and it gets through, so a leadoff base hit here in the second inning.
It's a good piece of hitting right there. 3-2. He's not trying to do too much. Takes the fastball down the middle and shoots it the other way.
Jose Marmolejos, a 2-time minor league player of the year for Washington, who's now been added to their 40-man roster. He was the player of the year in 2015 and 16. He's had 7 years of riding the buses in the minor leagues. I thought when Weaver first came up, he showed glimpses of what he could do, and then you could see, all right, he goes back down to the minor leagues, refines some things, comes back up, and he was just a different pitcher. And you see it all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. It seemed like he really gained that confidence when he got back. He knew what to expect. I mean, he was amazing last year at the end of the season. It was really fun to watch.
Last pitch, a change up. Here it is.
And that location right there is down the middle. If that's on the outer half, he doesn't even get a piece of it.
Here's a 1-1 pitch. Now you come back with the fastball and he paints it.
He paints it and throws it right by him.
1-2. He's averaging over 10 strikeouts per 9 in 96 major league innings. He has been a high strikeout guy. He had 117 strikeouts through his first 22 career games, and that tied Shelby Miller for the most all-time in Cardinals history.
Yeah,
that's impressive.
Absolutely, that's what we talk about. That changeup, that rise fastball, his stuff is electric.
The 2-2. And that's the pitch there he's trying to refine to, that breaking ball.
Absolutely. If he gets a hold of that third breaking pitch and can really start to command that, I think that's where it's going to take him to that next level.
Runner not going on the 3-2, a changeup, and it's popped up into right field. Dexter gets himself in a position to throw, and there's the out. Well, we talked to Luke Weaver prior to today's game and asked him about his thoughts heading into this season.
Throughout my career, it worked because being calm and showing the demeanor and just a chill way was helpful and just managing emotions. But when it comes to this type of level, I think you got to have that it factor. And when you cross the lines, you just got to put on this front like, you're the best that ever lived, and you got to believe in that, and then just go out there and just do your business.
Demeanor, attitude, how you carry yourself, all those things coming into play in what Luke Weaver's talking about.
Yeah, and I agree. I think body language is so huge in this game, and especially out there, you show those guys no emotion because the hitter's paying attention to what you're trying to do. Especially foul a pitch off or you throw a ball and you show that you didn't like it. Well, now they know you're trying to do something else. So the biggest thing is not to show those guys anything.
I didn't like going next to Chris Carpenter when he was starting.
Me neither, especially if he told me to play in and I didn't, and there was a little blooper hit. I might hear about it in the dugout.
I'd get out of the way. Not even a hi, how are you, good luck tonight, nothing. Just head down, get out of the way, see you later. That's enough.
Yeah, you would know the day he was starting, and you'd make that mistake by talking to him once, and then you'd never make it again.
What were you like on days that you started?
A little of the same, but not as intense.
You were calmer.
Calmer.
There's a ground ball that's hit to short, gloved by Garcia. The turn, and it's another double play. This one goes 6-4-3. 2 turned by the Cardinals, and Marcell Ozuna is coming up. For many years, was in the Cardinals system as a guy that was a minor league coordinator. If players were hurt, they were sent down here to work with Derek, and he's going to enjoy this pitching staff. Right now in spring, a 1.89 collective ERA. Then he was the bullpen coach and eventually the pitching coach for the Cardinals. And here's Marcell Ozuna. For fans who don't know, Ricky Ankiel full-time lives here in Florida. I know you watch a lot of the Marlins games, so you had the chance to see Ozuna. I mean, this guy can flat out hit.
Oh, my gosh, I love this guy. The fact is that he absolutely loves to play, and that gets me excited. But he's getting better. You've seen last year he really started driving the ball the other way, even with the great season he had before that. But now he's starting to mature even more. Not only that, but he's a Gold Glove outfielder. He was in the top in assists last year, which tells me not only is a good arm, but it's accurate, and those two are just as important.
And the 1-1 pitch. I think the pitching right now for the Cardinals still getting sorted out as we go along in spring, but I was talking with a number of the scouts today in the lunchroom, and they all were commenting that they feel this lineup will play. It's going to be a very good lineup with Ozuna now added to Mike Matheny's club and what he brings to the team. Some balance, some power too.
He's absolutely dangerous. He keeps that bat through the zone for so long. And you talk to all the pitchers who go into a pitcher's meeting and try to figure out how they're going to get this guy out. And really there's no plan. I think certain guys, let's say for Mike Stanton, for instance, just because they were both on the Marlins last year, there's always a plan of how to get him out. Go up and in, and then you can feed him away with the off-speed stuff. With Marcell Ozuna, he seems to get better, and he seems to get better when the number 1 or the number 2 starter's out there. He just seems to take his game to the next level.
Didn't like that call as he strikes out. And here's Jose Martinez. Make a case, and Martinez a year ago had the best spring of anybody, and it launched him into the big leagues with the club. And we still have not seen Matt Carpenter play in a game, so Martinez at first base getting a long look there. So is Luke Voigt, who's the DH today. Very solid season a year ago for Jose Martinez. Interesting way how various players go about their business. There's Carpenter, but, you know, Martinez is about 6'5". He would make Coffee nervous. He's waggling the bat. He's jumping around in the box, and yet, hey, he flat out hits.
He does flat out hit. What a great story. It's hard not to root for him, battling for so long down the minor leagues and finally getting his shot and then coming up here and producing.
It was, you know, to his credit, he doesn't say anything negative about his minor league experience, but he wins a batting title in the Royals system and doesn't get called up the year that they go to the World Series the second time and win it. And he said, that's just the way it was supposed to be. That's the way it was meant to be, and finds a home here with the Cardinals.
What a great perspective. So it'd be so easy to be negative and bitter at that point.
3-1 pitch. Popped foul and out of play. Here's a 3-2. Ripped into center field for the base hit. And the Cardinals' first hit of the afternoon.
Great swing right there. 3-2. Just trying to shoot the ball right back up the middle. That's what you're taught. Didn't try to get too big.
And now it's Jed Jerko. Jerko, in a way, has kind of been the forgotten man. As you know, you hear rumblings, well, the Cardinals need to go out and get this. They need to go out and get that. Well, 2 years ago, he hits 30 home runs. Last year, he hits 20. It's 50 combined in 2 seasons.
And he can play all infield positions. I mean, you have a guy with a lot of options here.
And the fly ball lifted out to left. The catch is made for the out, number 2.
And that's important, especially in today's baseball world, where the manager wants to be flexible and be able to put guys in different places, especially if you have injuries. He'd be a great addition for any team.
Here's Luke Voigt. In a way, he's taken the pattern of Matt Adams and dropped a little weight, redistributed that, so that he could play the outfield if need be, which is not foreign to him. He's played 22 games at Double-A in left field. He's played briefly in some games down here in spring. And there's Matt that credits Pilates for getting him in very good shape, as we saw last year during camp. So 2 outs and a runner at first. That's one of the reasons why the Cardinals a year ago felt okay in trading Adams, knowing that Luke Voit was coming. And Voit did produce when he had a chance.
I love him. I feel like he's an old school guy, football player, tough kid, and you can see it when you meet him, when you talk to him. You can feel that presence. He's cool to be around.
Lafayette High School, and when he made his debut, first plate appearance, hit by a pitch, and then eventually got a base hit. But waiting in his locker after that game was a letter from David Freese, also a Lafayette High School graduate, congratulating him on making it to the big leagues. One ball and one strike. In the air, out to center. Robles back in, makes the catch. The wind is coming in today, and it knocked that down, and a ball that was hit hard by Voit. The contract were ironed out over the weekend, so if you've just joined us, Paul DeYoung, a 6-year contract extension. And not many comparables in terms of guys that have the type of service time that he has in the major leagues. He's one of the youngest ever in terms of years in the big leagues to get that type of extension, but it tells you what the Cardinals think of him and his future, so he'll be around for a long time with Colton Wong up the middle.
Yeah, it's exciting and good for him. I mean, why not lock it up, secure your future, and great for the Cardinals to have a young, controllable player.
Out to deep left, Ozuna going back, and that ball is gone. It's a home run for Andrew Stevenson. And with that, a 1-0 Nationals lead.
It's one of the Nationals' high draft picks. I think right there you can see why he takes that fastball out over the plate. Nice, easy swing, goes the other way with it, and gets it up there in the jet stream. You can see him staying through that ball, really using those wrists when he got to the impact zone, and that's why he's able to shoot it through that wind out there.
Well, according to Baseball America, the 13th best prospect in their system, Andrew Stevenson.
You see him playing left field today. They got Robles, who's probably the quickest player, could be in the MLB. So Stevenson came out of college as a center fielder, but you see him moving over because Robles is the faster player.
So here's Adrian Sanchez. And the 2-0 pitch by Luke Weaver. See, in today's day and age, you could just find out if you go to Twitter how excited your teammates might be. It's something that you do, or a contract that you sign, an extension that you get, and Colton Wong did that earlier today. Paul DeYoung, the extension. So happy for my boy, real Paul DeYoung. Going to be fun to spin it with you for years to come. Hashtag Cardinal Nation.
I got to imagine he's buying dinner tonight, wherever they're going.
You better be. Had the chance to meet Paul's parents today. His grandparents flew in for this, his agent as well. And there's a swing and a miss and a strikeout for Weaver. And at the press conference, you get a look at the season numbers for Paul DeYoung. And if you saw him, you were looking very quickly. There they are, 25 home runs. Most ever by a Cardinals shortstop. The 52 extra base hits. And the 25 home runs by a rookie, second best in franchise history to Albert's 37, his first year. Here's Trey Turner. But many of his teammates were at the press conference today. Dexter Fowler came out. Colton Wong was there. Obviously, Paul was addressing the media. and his family very emotional, and you can understand why. Here's the 0-1 pitch to Turner. Breaking ball, and it's 0-2.
You know, the Nationals also have Adam Eaton coming back, who's also a really fast player, so I think that might take some pressure off of Trey Turner. If Adam Eaton is able to make it back by the beginning of the season, I think Adam Eaton will lead off and Trey Turner will hit second.
Let's go pitch by pitch. Strikeout for Weaver. Shortstop Trey Turner.
There, right there, you see a changeup down. You see him come back with another off-speed pitch, and Trey Turner, I don't know what he's looking for, but seems like he was up there hunting fastballs and just didn't get one.
Here's Matt Adams. So Adams, as we talked about earlier, in particular coming off the bench to face right-handed pitching, 17 of his 20 home runs were against righties a year ago. Now, when I think of home runs against a lefty, I think 2014 and Clayton Kershaw, and one of the great moments of Matt's career in Game 4 of the NLDS. Here's a 1-1 pitch. Kevin Long is the hitting coach with Washington, and they've actually opened up his stance slightly. And against left-handed pitching, they've told him they wanted to move up in the box. Only against lefties.
Now, up towards the plate or just up in the box?
Up in the box, towards the pitcher.
Yep. Just to take away that breaking ball.
Right.
Yep. Makes sense. I know when I face lefties, I like to get right on the plate because then you took away that inner half of the plate, forced them to pitch you away because then they would be scared to pitch in. They might hit you, and that puts you on first.
The 2-2, he chased a pitch up, and he strikes out. And Adams is 1 for 2. The home run by Andrew Stevenson. Midway through 3, and it's 1-0 Washington. Video highlights, stats, breaking news, and more. Download MLB At Bat now. It's your #1 Cardinals app. And a ball taken on the outside corner by Breivik Valera. He's at second base today. We've seen him at short. He can play third, as he eventually made his Major League debut a season ago. And there's a strike from Tanner Roark. Cardinals have a lefty getting loose. Weaver struck out the side in the third. The idea was to give him 3 innings, and he's done that. Two balls and 1 strike. Nice play by Adams on the backhand. Race to the bag, and Roark is there.
Big City getting it done.
I don't know about you. I was always impressed with Matt Adams defensively.
I was too. I don't think he gets enough credit. I think people look at him and you see this big guy and you think he can't move around and he can't cover the position, but he definitely can, and I think the metrics will show that. I also think he could be a starting first baseman for a lot of teams. I don't think he's a backup player. I think his talents should have him in the lineup every day.
I agree. But I'm biased. He's one of my favorites. I admit it.
I like him too, and I'm talking about it just from a talent standpoint and watching him play the game. I feel like he could be a starting guy.
Here's Adolis Garcia. Fastball and a strike. As a home run, he did that about 10 days ago in Port St. Lucie, hitting .389 this spring with 4 driven in. He play all 3 outfield spots. What did you see as in your time in pro ball, making the jump from the minor leagues to the big leagues? What's the toughest part that Garcia, because he's close, what's the toughest part in making that jump?
Believing in yourself and believing that you're good enough to be there and staying within yourself. You get here and you want to impress everybody and go 100 miles an hour, and you have to realize at the big league level 90% is 100% because you're going to have all this adrenaline coming, and then it becomes controlling those emotions and just doing what you can do.
The 2-1 pitch now to Garcia. Popped up on the infield. Backing up a step or two, Reynolds now coming in and makes the catch.
Boy, he just missed that one.
Cardinals very high on that young man right there.
You could definitely see the bat speed right there. Here we see this from the side. You can see how fast those hands are. That ball gets in on him a little bit, but you see him suck those hands in, and that was a major league pop-up. That ball was as high as the light poles. He just missed that.
So 2 outs and nobody on, and Dexter Fowler. Even in spring training, you see a shift. That's on the infield. All kinds of room on the left side. Talk more and more to players, and they say it's not a distraction from the hitting perspective of things. When it first became a part of the game, guys said it would bother me. You know, you get 3 on the right side of the infield, or somebody standing right behind the pitcher, and now it's commonplace. You see it every day.
Yeah, like anything else, everybody gets used to it. You know, I think the biggest thing as a hitter is you got to go up there and stick with your plan. Sometimes guys get in trouble with trying to hit something to the left field when they're not an opposite field hitter, for Dexter being a left-hander. So stay within his game plan, and who cares where the fielders are.
Here's a 2-1 pitch. See him trying to take it the other way.
I was going to say, it looked like he was going to left right there, though. There it is right there. You see him letting that ball get deep, shoot it the other way.
And he fights it off, and a little flare hit to the shortstop side of the second base bag. Cardinals go 1-2-3, and it's 1-0. Luke Weaver, who strikes out 4, gives up 3 hits, including a home run. Overall, solid outing. Rick got his work in today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you see what he can do. I mean, you see balls that are over the heart of the plate, and guys just can't catch up with it. I mean, he can do so many things with you with that rising fastball. They have to cover the changeup too. Sky's the limit for him if he continues to hit his spots.
Line on Luke Weaver. Austin Gomber, the 6'5 lefty, takes over out of Winter Garden, Florida. And he is close to breaking through. He was the 2015 Cardinals minor league pitcher of the year. He's averaged 11 wins and 23 starts over his last 3 full minor league seasons. It's just something about having a lefty in a rotation, too, that's a positive.
No question. And the biggest thing that strikes me right now watching him throw is that down. He's a big guy, and you see that downhill plane. And you certainly go back and look at his minor league numbers, and he's had some stints that were dominant as can be.
Popped up into shallow right. And Fowler makes the catch.
A little Andrew Jones catch right there.
So I talked to Dexter about why does he catch the ball like that? He said that when he was a little guy, he said probably 10 or 11, he was always a catcher. He was the only kid that could throw anybody out at second base. His dad was the coach. And so he would always catch a ball and does so like that. And when he got drafted by the Rockies, they tried to make him catch it the traditional way with the glove up above the shoulders. And he said, I was literally missing balls. He said it would be like that 2 feet gap from his chest to raising his glove, and he said, I couldn't do it. So I just told him, I see the ball all the way into the glove in front of me that way. And so that's why he catches the ball that way. I get worried when I see it that way. He doesn't.
Hey, the most important thing is to catch the ball. The
right?
second thing is for the outfielder to be comfortable. So whatever works for them, you let them get it done. The thing for me is he still uses 2 hands. Nobody on base. You still seen that other hand come up, so he's ready to throw somebody out if he had to. So that habit is already created. For me, you got to let him go.
And he said he always will catch, if he can, with 2 hands. That's the other aspect of why he catches it at his chest.
Which they should. I know it bothers me when I see outfielders catching it with 1 hand because, for one, if you want to be ready to throw somebody out. But for 2, if you just happen to bobble it, that other hand's nowhere close, you're probably not going to catch it. If you're always in position for just in case, because sometimes things happen, that other hand's there to help you catch the ball if you happen to bobble it.
He said he turns on the glove hand his thumb up just a little bit. Watch how it comes up. See, just like that.
Turns it up, creates a little basket.
Yeah.
Comfortable, it works. It's always worked for him.
And it's at least a 9.8 on the style meter. You got to have style out there, right?
Yeah, got to.
There's a 1-out walk to Montero.
Now more than ever, there's probably a website that gives these guys style points. If not, somebody should create one.
You got analytics, you got every other stat. Why not that?
That'll be a new algorithm.
Here's Moises Sierra, who's 1 for 1 with a base hit into right. Cardinals have turned 2 double plays today. That was behind Luke Weaver. And the fastball in there for a strike. I don't think we've seen it yet, but Gomber does have a really good breaking ball. That's what he's really been known for, to have that good breaking ball.
You would definitely think so with that high down arm angle, and then as a hitter, you're looking at the plane of the ball. He throws that fastball, and all of a sudden he throws a curveball that comes out on that same plane, and then it breaks. When somebody's has that high arm angle, it's harder to differentiate the two, as we see a breaking ball there between the pitches versus somebody with a flat arm angle because it pops out of their hand high.
Jose Martinez telling Gomber, even though it's a position player at first base, Miguel Montero, they're not even holding him on. They're going to play behind the runner. You don't see that very often with a position player at first base.
No, he's probably used to it by now, but I'm sure some people would be a little disappointed that they're not even holding him on.
Yep. Three and 1 the count. Missed again just on the inside corner. Gomber hasn't gotten that call there. And it's back-to-back walks. He had 51 walks in 143 innings last year at Double-A. Opponents only hit 219 against him. Jose Marmolejos. Fly to right, first time up. And sometimes you fool the umpire too.
Certainly did. Ball seems like it's catching the inside part of the plate right there.
And Gomber, from his perspective, is saying, well, you didn't give me the inside corner on the righty. Now I can't get that pitch. I'm going to have to go right down the middle.
Doesn't it seem sometimes like the umpires start to squeeze the young guys?
Yes.
Have you ever noticed that?
I've noticed it in spring training a lot.
Me too.
That's a veteran crew here. Larry Vanover behind the plate. The 2-0 pitch. Now 2-1.
There we go.
2-2.
Here you see that good downward angle hitting the outside top part of the zone there. Ooh.
The check swing on the curveball. You can see this curve is very tough on the left-handed batter.
I'm surprised he was able to take that pitch.
A 3-2 pitch. Struck him out. Got him with the fastball. There's 2 away.
That's what's going to make him really tough to pitch. He's really going to be able to utilize that high fastball. Here you see that high fastball. And remember that curveball he just threw came out of that same slot. So it's going to be hard to tell the difference between the two. And once he's throwing that curveball for strikes, that high fastball is going to become really good for him because they're going to think it's the curveball and they go to swing and it's already by him.
I'm not sure I've ever seen a better breaking ball from a lefty than my partner today, Rick Ankiel. What is the key if you're trying to teach a young kid how to throw a curveball? And I say young kid, I mean a teenager. junior, senior, high school, that kind of thing. What is it? What's the key to throwing it?
For me, it first starts with the grip, but some people have different grips, which is fine. But that upper body, you really have to keep that upper body back when you're going to make the pitch, because you want to be able to get out front and make sure you can get your hand out front, which creates that break. Some guys get a little too far out there with that upper body. That's when it pops out sideways and you throw a hanging breaking pitch.
You could hear yours through the air. There's a strike to Matt Reynolds, and there's Yadier Molina. He's your catcher. He's also part teacher, too, isn't he?
Oh, yes, he is. He's the best. Best I've ever played with. I played for 6 different organizations, and nobody could slow the game down as well as him and pay attention to everything on the field.
Here's a 0-1. Beautiful curveball in there for a strike. 0-2. It's Matt Reynolds at the plate, grounded into a double play. First time up. He was traded to Washington for cash considerations, competing for a bench spot. Played at Bishop Kelly High School in Tulsa, Oklahoma, then went on to play at Arkansas collegiately.
This is exactly what we were talking about. You see those two breaking pitches, and Yadi knows it too. They were both for strikes, and in that pitch they're going to go with that high fastball. That was a little higher than he wanted to, but if he throws that about letter high right there, most chances are that the hitter swings.
Here's a 1-2. Went up there again, 2-2.
Got to go back to the breaking ball now.
The 2-2 pitch.
Oof.
Doesn't get the call. 3-2. Runners off with this next delivery.
If he makes that pitch after those first two breaking balls, I think he swings through it.
And a pitch down, did not go. And so the base runners have been provided via the walk. He's walked the bases loaded, and it brings in Andrew Stevenson.
As you see, he didn't go there. Good job holding back on that low breaking ball.
So bases loaded. Stevenson, a solo home run back in the third. As Rick told you, he is one of the top prospects in the organization for the Nationals. Lifts a high fly ball out to left. Marcell Ozuna puts it away. Coming up for the Cardinals, Garcia, Molina, and Ozuna. It's 1-0 Nats.
Right at you. He sees the game a different way, and he's going to be a huge asset for us this year.
Greg Garcia on Jose Oquendo, and I'm curious, when you decided to say, okay, enough of pitching and coming back as a position player, how influential was Oquendo with the little things, base running, those types of things to help you along?
That's where he's brilliant. I think he's in the top of the game at teaching those things. And it's not just about the drills. He teaches you and how to use your glove and what you're thinking at the time. But if you pay attention on each pitch, he'll move guys just a one step here, one step there, and that can make all the difference.
So Yadi there with Jose Oquendo, those two talking. There's a strike to Garcia. Good to have him back. The secret weapon, Jose Oquendo.
The things he can notice when he was a third base coach and he sees the infield shift or the outfield shift at that last moment, and you're leading off paying attention to the pitcher that you can't see, and he lets you know, hey, get off, do this. This is what's coming, because he can see the whole thing. I mean, a lot of times he knows what pitches are coming, where he thinks the ball is going to be hit, and he's giving you a heads up. Hey, be ready right here. I think a ground ball is going to be hit to that right side. Be ready to go.
Did he also do that a little bit with the outfield guys too?
Yeah, he does a little bit of everything. It's more with the infield guys,
yeah.
But the more you're around him, you just learn.
2-2 the count. Right-hander's been getting loose for the Nationals in their bullpen, and a swing and a miss. So Tanner Roark here in inning number 4 has struck out 3 and allowed just 1 hit. Pitch count at 45 for him. It brings in Yadier Molina. And here's another guy that when Jimmy's in the booth with me or when you've been in, you've told me how Yadi from behind the plate essentially is allowing his outfielders, in particular his center fielder, to see the pitch, location, the idea of what they're trying to do, and then position you as an offensive player and what to do and where to be.
Oh, and it's so important. If I can have a heads up, then I know what hitter's up and I know what he does with certain pitches because we have those outfield spray charts of where guys hit it. Well, I'm one step up, and when I play with other organizations, sometimes a guy would get on second base or in scoring position or say the base is loaded, and they would forget all about me because the game sped up on them and all they could pay attention to was the pitcher and possibly the manager in the dugout. Where Yadi never missed a beat. It didn't matter what situation the game was in. He was always in tune with everybody on the field.
There's Marcell Ozuna with 2 outs. Little chopper that's hit left side.
Throw it away.
Good play. Throw it away. Didn't work.
Didn't work.
1-0 Nets at 5 o'clock St. Louis time against Houston. Rick Ankiel has been kind enough to join us today. I'm Dan McLaughlin, and it's 1-0 Washington. Austin Gomber's second inning of work, and there's a strike. In the 6th inning, the president of baseball operations, John Mozeliak, will join us, and we'll talk about the contract extension, among other things, of Paul DeJong. There's a fly ball that's going to drop into right center field and a base hit. Adrian Sanchez is aboard. As Rick mentioned earlier, Trey Turner batted leadoff last year. More than likely drops down to the 2nd spot in the position of their lineup. Return of Adam Eaton. This guy is such a good athlete. He was a starting center fielder for a while, then moved to his natural position of shortstop, and is one of the fastest players in all of baseball.
He was excellent out there in the outfield, too. I know when he first made the switch, everybody was wondering how it was going to play out, but watching him play out there, I mean, he could win a Gold Glove out there.
It was strike to Turner, 1-2. He's 0 for 2 today with a couple of strikeouts. This is a tough business. You're Joe Girardi. You're 1 win away from the World Series. You get canned.
Yep.
John Farrell wins a World Series in 13. Won the division last year with Boston. He's gone. Dusty Baker averaging 96 wins over 2 years. Gone. Ooh, doesn't get the call.
It's interesting watching how that's all starting to play out. It doesn't matter anymore, right? You think if you make the playoffs, you're guaranteed for the next year, and necessarily that's not the case anymore.
You know, you're talking about playing for 6 different organizations. You're a veteran. You had been around the game for a long time. As you get a look at the 2-2, what do guys want? I mean, what are the players, the 25-man roster, what do they want out of their manager? Honesty?
You want honesty, you want leadership, you want somebody you can trust. You want somebody that you can, the open door policy, but when you go in there and whatever the discussion is about, what you're being told is the truth. No question. Like anybody else, you want respect.
Yeah.
Right? Number one thing you want from people is respect, and you know it works both ways.
Mike Scioscia has been around a long time, since 2000, and Mike Matheny is now in the top third of the longest tenured managers in all of baseball. And the fly ball lifted into shallow right as Fowler makes the catch. Scioscia since 2000, and the list of some other very good managers: Bruce Bochy, Ned Yost since 2010, Buck Showalter with Baltimore, Clint Hurdle in Pittsburgh, their turnaround, Bob Melvin, and then Mike Matheny. Big year for Mike, as he was signed in 2012 after the championship year, and following Tony La Russa in 2011. There's Matt Adams.
Here we'll see what you're talking about. He's got that open stance here facing Gomber, which Gomber's got to be a tough at bat for a left-hander with that high angle and good breaking ball.
Now, Matt has shown the ability to drop down a bunt. He started doing that against the shift. Cardinals have a shift here.
I don't think we'll see the bunt today.
Spring training, let it rip.
I think so.
Now, the great thing about having Ricky and Keel as an analyst is that you can talk pitching, base running, outfield play, the hitter. You did it all. So we were talking earlier about the hitter's perspective with the shift and how now it's become commonplace. What about from a pitcher's perspective? I mean, John Lackey and Chris Carpenter, if they had, that's ripped against a lefty. And it one hops off the wall. Sanchez being waved in. The relay to the plate. They got him. They got him. What a relay.
Nice play right there. It's just how you draw it up. Nobody trying to do too much. Everybody doing what they should do. Perfect toss from Fowler. Shot into home plate.
Perfect on hop to Molina in the tag.
I know when I always teach kids, I always teach them that one-hop throw because it slows the ball down. You give the player who's trying to receive the throw a chance to get that long one-hop thing, which is easier to catch and tag somebody. And it takes the tail out of the baseball.
I don't believe you. You may teach that, but if you were the teacher and the pupil, you didn't listen to yourself.
Hey, wait. If we go back and look at all my throwouts, you'll see a lot of one-hop throws.
I saw seeds on a line with no bounce.
When you got to let it go, you got to let it go. But, typically your most accurate throw is going to be that one-hop throw. And most of the time you will have time. It really doesn't take that much, a few mini seconds out of the ball, so to speak. But for me, being left-handed too, I had a lot of tail in the baseball. So that one-hop throw, for one, now I can throw it as hard as I want because I'm throwing it on a downward angle. And you get that one-hop throw, which throws the tail out of it, and it does make it easier for the player to make the tag.
2 balls and 1 strike on Robles.
Now, going back to what you were saying from the pitcher's perspective in the shifts, it can be frustrating because you almost want to go away from your game plan. You're thinking, now I don't want to throw the guy away if they're all shifted to their pull side because they can just shoot a single the other way. And I think it's really taken time from pitchers to get used to it. They'll throw a pitch that's a ground ball that they think should be made, and then they turn around and the guy's not there. But as you see there with Matt Adams and everybody shifted, he didn't try to go to left there. No. He stayed with his game plan and rips a double down the right field line.
Here's a 2-2 pitch to Robles. And I mentioned John Lackey and Chris Carpenter. If they got a little chinker, the ball that should be at short, routine, and it finds a hole, I mean, they would just glare into the dugout. They were upset. They were hot. They didn't like it. But we'd have a shot of the dugout, and all the guys have their head down. No one's looking around. They're
right
picking at the seeds in the floor of the dugout.
And it's almost a case of messing with somebody's routine, especially talking about Chris Carpenter. Well, he knows how to pitch and knows what his game plan is and knows what he wants to do with those guys. And when he makes that pitch, got the ground ball he wanted, nobody's there. I mean, you can understand the frustration.
The 3-2 is hit in the air. And Fowler makes the catch. It starts with Dexter Fowler to Valera to Molina. The relay, perfect. Gomber loves it.
The call you made that day.
It is. And then the throws. Oh, yeah, there's your one hop. I got you.
That wasn't a one-hop throw. I had to let that one go.
Who are you kidding? Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh.
Thank you, Troy, for giving me that ball. He probably knew it was the best throw I was ever going to make.
The 2 best throws I've ever seen.
Thank you.
Unbelievable. Here's Jose Martinez against Joaquin Benoit. And you've told me the story about what Tony said after the first throw. in Colorado.
Yeah.
Because that's from the same game for fans that don't know.
Yeah, that was from the same game. There was a guy on first and second, and the play should have been to throw it to second to keep the double play in order, and I just got this feeling like I'm not letting him go to third, and I threw him out, and Tony lightly, jokingly, but probably not, said, hey, great throw, kid, but don't ever effing do it again.
And that was it.
And that was it.
And then on the second throw?
He just laughed and smiled and shook his head.
How many people still come up to you today and tell you about either the home run that they were there, there's probably 500,000 people that have said they were there, or the throws?
I get more people talk about the throws than they do the home run.
Is that right?
Yep.
It's unbelievable. The reaction of Chris Duncan is priceless.
Yep.
You've probably seen it 1,000 times.
So Todd Helton was playing first base for Colorado, and he was like, hey, those are two of the greatest throws I've ever seen. But I'm done giving you any more compliments. Go lead off.
The reaction of the bench.
And Troy, too. Troy never showed emotion.
It's hard enough to get him to say hi.
What a fun moment.
Even Dave Duncan's smiling. Much less Tony to get Dave Duncan to smile. That's hard, too. Incredible moment in Cardinals history. That's out to deep left. Well hit. And this ball one hops and goes over the wall. A ground rule double for Jose Martinez, and he's 2 for 2. You mentioned with the home run, you were floating around the bases.
Mm-hmm.
Been such a long and hard, arduous, I can't even imagine, road back for you personally. And then, I mean, it's storybook.
Oh, emotionally, it's hard to even describe, but I think it's just one of those moments that words doesn't do it justice. And I have yet to find the exact statement or put it into some kind of something to make people understand what I was going through and what I felt. Just a magical moment.
Maybe the movie will do that.
Hopefully. They better.
Here's Jed Jerko with the tying run at second base. Of course, you came out with your book, which we were talking about really promoting this time last year, and to your credit, it made it to the New York Times bestsellers list, and I would advise anybody, whether you're a sports fan or not, just a story of, in many ways, redemption, get the book. It's well done, and you're to be commended. It was outstanding.
Thank you. There you see Jerko trying to go the other way, which you should do. No outs, runner on second. Even though we're in spring training, he's out there still trying to be a professional and do the right thing.
Don't see that enough, do we? Guys just, giving themselves up and taking a ball to the right side.
No, it seems like everything now is lift and separating.
Yes.
Guys actually lose the ability to do it. And I don't know if it's not that they're not trying. It's some of them can't.
Here's a 1-1 and a fastball outside, 2-1.
You know, the tricky thing about that as a hitter is the pitcher knows that you're trying to do that too. And a lot of times you'll get a meatball on the inner half that you want to just jerk into the seats and hit
right.
it, but you can't. You need to do what you're supposed to do and drive it the other way and get that runner to third base.
The 2-1 pitch with the tying run at second base. Two and two. Joaquin Benoit, it seems like he has been around forever, and he still can throw hard. That pitch at 92, he's been around 93, 94 today. Signed with the Rangers at the age of 18. Been with Texas, Tampa Bay, Detroit, the Padres, Mariners, Blue Jays, Phillies, Pirates, and now Nationals. A little bit high. He debuted all the way back in 2001, 17th Major League season. Signed as a non-drafted free agent back in 1996, which was the first for Tony La Russa in St. Louis. 3-2 pitch. Ground ball left side. And Martinez has to stay put at second base. Enjoy a game in style the 2018 season. All-inclusive tickets. The UMB Champions Club, Proficient, Red Jacket Club, Bank of America Club, and more. All-inclusive tickets include food and drinks, plus a great view of the game. Get yours today at cardinals.com/all-inclusive. Reminder, we'll visit with John Mozeliak coming up in the 6th inning. For those of you that have not heard, just joined us, Paul DeYoung signed a 6-year extension today. As Voit hits it out of play. One thing that Luke Voit did to get him to the next level was cut down on his front leg kick. Used to have a really high leg kick. Then at that point, he's committed to his swing, and a lot of pitchers would bust him in. It was tough for him to catch back up. Now he kind of swings the leg forward and is able to put it down and then explode into the baseball. And this side view will really give you a pretty good idea of what we're talking about.
That reminds me of Paul O'Neill. Just floats it out there.
Yeah, I see that. Here's a 1-1 pitch. Slowly hit, tough play, and a base hit for Voit.
Couldn't have rolled it any better.
He'll take it. Runners at the corners for Breivik Valera, and only one out.
Valera really good at being able to handle the bat. You know, this is the guy you want up in this situation.
Runners at the corners, and Valera out in front, and a foul ball. So Luke Voit with that base hit, continuing a trend of some of the young players that have stepped up and had good starts to spring training. Garcia, Munoz, Voit now 8 for 23. Randy Arozarena 6 for 19, and then Harrison Bader. Slow start for him, but he's picked it up as of late. One out, runners at first and third. Voit is running, wants to get in a rundown. He does. Run will score, and we're tied 1-1. Cardinals tried this a couple of days ago. The idea is the runner gets in the rundown, and you score the run from third easily.
Yep, and that worked just how he threw it up right there. You see the catch right there, not able to make a good throw. Montero. Now we got runners on second when the other run scored.
What's the read for the base runner at third? I know you've practiced this a number of times in spring training.
You're creeping, and as soon as you see Montero, the ball come out of his hand, you got to go.
That split second.
It's got to be, yeah, it's got to be your instincts that help you. Jose Akendo, who's one of the best there too, he's going to be right there with you saying, you know, when it's time to go, he's like, go, go, go.
Here's the 0-2 in the dirt. So the go-ahead run, Luke Voit at second base. It's funny, you practice these things a lot in spring training, and you may only use that play maybe one time in a regular season game. Maybe. The other day we were looking at the Cardinals and the numbers for stolen bases, and they're way up in spring training, just like a year ago, but regular season play happens. You don't see them as aggressive. Here's a 1-2.
You know, one thing that the shift does with that play right there, sometimes that third baseman's pulled off way more than he wants to be because the shortstop was pulled off, and now you know that there's no way he's going to be able to come back there and get the throw from Montero to third. So now you can get off even farther, and if he fakes the throw, you're still going to have time to get back.
And with that, 2 balls, 2 strikes, the infield is drawn in. Tough inning here for Montero behind the plate. The 2-2. Got him. Elevated and a strikeout. So 2 outs, and it's up to Adolis Garcia as the infield will play back. He's 0 for 1, popped out to second, first time up. Rick talked about it earlier, but very quick hands of Garcia. There's ball 1.
Athletic body. I'm just standing in the box, his presence. He looks like he's going to do damage.
His body reminds me a little bit of Alfonso Soriano. Wiry, strong.
I can see that.
Two and 0.
Looks like Benoit knows it too, because he don't want to lay one in there.
No. Mentioned earlier, talking with scouts today prior to today's game, and they are impressed with the young core of the outfield that could be featured in Memphis this season for the Cardinals. And Garcia is one of them. 3-0. Fowler on deck.
He wants no part of him right now. Lefty warming up in the bullpen. Dexter a switch hitter, so be interesting to see what happens.
The 3-0 pitch. 3-1.
Get right here, come on. Ready to swing it.
Ooh.
And it's driven out to left. That ball is down all the way to the wall. Run scores. That's Voit. And Garcia makes it a 2-1 St. Louis lead.
Here you see the side angle here. You can just see how fast those hands are. 3-1 pitch. He's looking dead red. Gets the ball down the middle where he likes it and does damage with it.
Third hit in the inning against Benoit. A shift on here against Dexter Fowler. Runner at second base, Garcia. Good speed. Up and into Dexter. So John Mozeliak actually flew out to Las Vegas during the offseason to deliver the idea, not necessarily saying that this is going to be set in stone, but the idea that they would move Dexter Fowler from center field to a corner spot. And Dexter was fine with that as he lifts it into center. May drop. They can't find it. They finally do. And the catch is made. We hope to visit with John Mozeliak, president of baseball operations, for just $3. Better burgers, better prices, Steak and Shake. Third inning of work for Austin Gomber. But a ball taken low by Miguel Montero. We'll visit with John Mozeliak in a moment. 2-1 our score as Montero hits it out of play. Big news here in camp today. The signing, an extension of Paul DeJong. 6-year extension. Young shortstop of the St. Louis Cardinals. And Montero pops it up left side. Jerko in foul territory. And he runs out of room. John Mozeliak is the president of baseball operations and made his way up here in the booth. And we appreciate your time, John. I know it's been a busy 24, 48 hours with the extension for Paul DeJong, but congratulations on getting the deal done.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's exciting. Obviously, we view these types of deals as a win-win for the player as well as for the team. And, he was very excited, and when they showed interest in wanting to pursue something like that, it just made a lot of sense to the St. Louis Cardinals.
Did you want to do something this early, or was it more his camp saying, hey, let's get something done?
We certainly welcomed it. When you look at the type of player that he is, and I always feel like guys that have that type of intellect, you always have to admire their approach on how they think about their future. And I think Paul was one of those guys that knew he had an opportunity to tie himself up and take care of him for a long time, and that was smart.
Absolutely. How much fun is it to see the reaction of the parents, the grandparents, family members like today that were on hand that had a chance to see a dream come true and obviously financial security for the young man?
Well, obviously it's a special moment that a young man can share with his parents, his grandparents. Sometimes they have a wife, but in this particular case, it was sort of neat because I had told Paul, he was good, he could go back in the clubhouse, and he actually looked for his grandparents and told them he loved them. And, you got to admire that, and that's what makes this guy special.
You've done this before with other guys. Was this something that you thought was on the radar in this camp, or was it a surprise to you that they came to you this early and said, hey, let's do this?
Well, when you finish second in Rookie of the Year, you're going to draw some attention to yourself. And I think in his particular case, we just felt like being a shortstop, being someone that has that kind of power, and more importantly, the aptitude to improve. And so ultimately, we felt pretty confident in pursuing this deal.
I look at it as an accomplishment for the organization because he was a corner position player at that point and then moved to shortstop. Mark DeJean, Pop Warner, all those guys, Gary LaRocque, and they said not only is he doing this, but he's done it well. So this is an accomplishment from everybody in the organization, not just Paul DeJong.
Well, that's well said, and I completely agree. I think any time you see somebody come up from your pipeline who wasn't playing his primary position and then to adapt as quickly as he did, and I would say like when he was out at the Arizona Fall League 2 years ago, he certainly opened up a lot of eyes in that particular case, and the confidence from the organization to allow him to continue to play there was very high.
0-2 the count with 2 outs. And Gomber a quick 1-2-3, top of the 6th. John Mozeliak will stay with us for the bottom half. He just doesn't know it yet. That was too quick. Midwest. Enny Romero is the new pitcher in for the Washington Nationals. John Mozeliak, the president of baseball operations, is our guest. So we're talking a lot about Paul DeJong. How about just the rest of camp? How happy have you been with the camp so far?
I really like the pace. I like the energy. I think the coaching changes that we made and implemented, I think, have been a real positive on this camp. I think if you have the opportunity to walk around, especially on the backfields, and see what's going on, I think a lot of people appreciate what's going on, and I'm very grateful for getting Jose Oquendo back, having Willie McGee, and of course the additions of Maddox and Gurdy I think have been very important.
Who has stood out so far in camp for you?
Well, I think a lot of people are realizing the depth of our outfield. Obviously, Adolis Garcia is someone that I think people talked about, but now you're seeing him and you see his athleticism, and I think overall people understand why we had to make some of the moves we made this offseason because of that depth.
Pitching wise in particular, your starting 5, are you happy with what you've seen from those guys so far?
Yeah, I am. I feel like a lot of people are starting to hit the panic button a little early on this. I think when you look at what we're seeing out of our starters, I think there's a lot of positives. There's certainly, when you're looking at getting your first, second, third appearance in spring training, a lot of it is very specific on what you're trying to accomplish, whether it's throwing strikes, whether it's working on some off-speed pitches. But overall, I don't feel like you're seeing anything that is really a flag to panic. And I do feel like, ultimately, once these guys hit their groove, it's going to be a pretty exciting rotation. We
saw Wainwright hit 90-91 the other day, and it seems like, Mo, that he's healthy and ready to go this year.
Well, I think, I hate looking at velocities as sort of the indicator of success, but, clearly when you remember last year when he was throwing 82 miles an hour and trying to get through a lineup, that's very difficult. And so to see him 88-91 was very encouraging.
Now, I know the one pitcher that I think that a lot of people, or at least media and fans, talk about is Miles Mikolas, and first couple of times out, it's been okay, I guess, is the way that you would maybe want to look at it. The numbers aren't pretty, but how would you evaluate what you've seen with him?
To me, I think so far so good, actually. Anytime you see a starter that's sitting 93 to 96, not polished with his breaking balls yet, but getting a feel for what he wants to do. You look at the amount of strikes he's throwing. He's certainly in the strike zone, so you're going to get hit a little bit there. But I think the big thing for him, as fans are watching him over the next couple starts, is does he have the ability to put a hitter away? So if you can find yourself in that 0-2, 1-2 count, can you get the out? And I think that'll be the sort of the big test for him, because obviously pitch efficiency and being able to go deep into a game is ultimately what you want out of your starter.
Here's Marcell Ozuna. Now you have a chance to watch him every day. What stands out about Ozuna here in camp?
Well, I think a couple things. One is his athleticism. One is his energy. And I'd also say just his personality. Anybody that's been around this camp this year understands that he brings a lot of life to this club, and I think that's a huge positive. Not to mention he's extremely talented and he can hit.
Marcell Ozuna here at the plate with one out and a runner at first. Is there a time frame or a situation where you say, okay, we break camp and player X is our closer? Is there any momentum building towards that direction, or do you say, well, we might just mix and match early on? We're not sure what we're going to do.
Well, I still think it's pretty early in camp to decide exactly what we're going to look like, but I think the one positive is a lot of our younger pitchers that are trying to get some looks in the bullpen have thrown the ball well. I would also say, from Gregerson's standpoint, our confidence in going with him is probably something that will likely happen. But Leon is someone that when we traded for, we wanted him to be someone that was competing for back-end work. So I think, as we get into camp, and we're roughly, three weeks away from closing this one up, we have time. But I think, I do think it would be helpful to have somewhat defined roles as we get into April.
We see Jose Martinez here. He's at first base today. What's the status right now, health-wise, of Matt Carpenter?
That's probably the one disappointment right now in camp is just not having him be able to get onto the field. And I spoke briefly this morning with the trainers on a couple other topics, but I did broach the Carpenter topic, and they were encouraged that it's getting closer. But, for me, what does that mean? And
right.
Ultimately, you want to see him on the field. And so I hope he's getting to that moment where he wants to push. But I will say a guy with his status, 6 years of service, he's someone that probably needs a couple weeks. But, at some point you want to see him doing baseball activity.
A couple weeks from now?
No, I think he's very close.
Okay.
I'm saying he needs a couple weeks to get himself game ready.
And before I let you go, Alex Reyes, very quickly, looking good?
Looks very impressive. And, obviously we just have to caution ourselves not to push him too fast.
Thanks for stopping by.
It was a pleasure, Dan.
All right. That's the president of baseball operations, John Mozeliak. Benefit the Broward Education Foundation. Help raise funds for the victims' families by bidding on the caps at cardinals.com/auctions. Look at the closer candidates potentially. One of them on the mound here, Tyler Lyons with 3 career saves. Luke Gregerson, Mo talked about him. John Brebbia, Sam Tuivalala, Leon, and Norris as well, all with experience in that regard. Our thanks to John Mozeliak for stopping by. Ricky and Keel back in there with us. And the lefty Tyler Lyons, who really, in my opinion, took on a greater role in that bullpen a year ago. And you know what, Hank, we could see that happen again. He was a guy that was relied upon an awful lot.
Yeah, go-to guy for Matheny, coming in there, really doing a great job. No question that'll be a big help. Anytime you can have a lefty come in there and be able to get lefties and righties out like he did, that's just a huge bonus for your bullpen and options for the manager.
Abreu with a fly ball into right, and the catch is made. Numbers on Tyler from a year ago in his 50 appearances. Had to work himself back into shape in terms of his knee. Remember, he had knee surgery and then some complications with that, and started off a little bit later than probably he would have liked. But once he got up to the big club, he was very good. Here's Drew Ward, and he looks at a strike. And Tyler's got that nasty late break with his curveball. And quickly, no balls and 2 strikes.
I think a lot of times that's the biggest thing you look at from pitchers is it with that late movement, because guys commit to the pitch wherever the location may be, then that late movement happens, and in baseball it only takes a centimeter to be off and you're out.
Here's the 0-2 pitch.
Speaking of that, I remember Darryl Kyle when I first got to the big leagues. He's like, "Kid, come here." I said, "Yeah." He says, "Hey, what's your job out there?" I said, "Get guys out." He goes, "No, your job is to throw baseballs at targets with hard late breaking movement. Don't forget that."
That was it.
That was it.
Did not go, still alive. Darryl Kyle had one of the great curveballs, recent memory of anybody that we've seen in baseball.
He could make it break inside out. So most of the time, as a left-hander, right, it's going to break. It's going to break from 11 to 4. For a right-hander, the other way. But he could throw it inside out, where it would actually break like a left-handed curveball from a right-handed person.
How do you do
amazing.
that?
Good question, because I couldn't do it.
There's a one-out walk. So the tying run aboard. Primary closers last handful of years for the Cardinals. Ryan Franklin was a all-star in 2009, now working for the Cardinals. Fernando Salas, often forgotten, in 2011 World Championship year, led the Cardinals in saves. We saw Edward Mujica, and he was an all-star in 2013, picked up from the Marlins, and then Trevor Rosenthal and Seung-Hwan Oh the last couple of years, and Oh signed with Toronto. Little chopper towards short, a flip, out there, double play. Nicely done by Tyler Lyons. Time to stretch here at the ballpark, and the Cardinals leading by the score of 2-1. Again, it'll be our only evening telecast, if you will, nighttime game, 5 o'clock St. Louis time on Friday. That's our next televised action. The Cardinals against the Astros, and we'll come your way at 5. It's our Budweiser What's on Tap. And the new pitcher in for the Washington Nationals, Austin Voth. Last year in the minor leagues, went 4-12. Anytime I look at minor league numbers, the first thing I do, and I don't know if you're the same way, and I know you follow baseball very closely, both hitters and pitchers, but I look at walk totals, because a lot of times it's the control that allows, or lack thereof, a player to either stay in the minor leagues or make that jump to the big leagues.
You're absolutely right, and you can tell the difference if guys are out there trying to overthrow, and that's what happens a lot. They get into the minor leagues where they're coming from college or coming from high school, where they've been the best player in their county, possibly state, and then they get into the pro level where guys are as good or better, and it's always going to happen. And instead of trusting their stuff, they get out there, just try to overthrow. And then they're all over the place. And then when they do have to, now they walk a guy, walk two guys, and when they do have to throw a strike, bad things happen.
Sure. Jose Martinez at the plate. He has a couple of hits today. Base hit to center, also a double and a run scored back in inning number 5.
I look at strikeouts too.
Hard not to look at those. I'm with you.
Not that it matters, but I just want to see. And then, because the more strikeouts you see, the guess is, hey, this guy's got power stuff. And it's electric.
How many hits did you give up your senior year?
In high school?
Yeah.
I don't know. If I went back
Who
and looked,
possibly could hit you in high school?
Well, I threw 3 no-hitters and 4 one-hitters, and then maybe 3 two-hitters.
So, in the total of whatever it was, 10, 12 starts, whatever, you gave up maybe a total of like 9 hits? Probably little chinkers?
I didn't give up an earned run or unearned run the entire regular season.
Say that again?
I didn't give up a run, earned or unearned, the entire regular season. Not until the playoffs did that happen.
Oh, my God. That's unbelievable. That's hit down the left field line. Well hit, and it is foul. By the way, that's the voice of Rick Ankiel, who, correct me if I'm wrong, you were the high school Player of the Year, USA Today High School Player of the Year, right?
USA Today, Gatorade, won the Golden Spikes Award also.
And not a bad resume.
Good times. No, it was really good. Threw 9 no-hitters total in high school.
9?
Mm-hmm. Did okay.
That's not bad. Here's my favorite, though. You and I were talking the other day, and I said, Rick, here's the deal. I've been to fantasy camp. I've seen you just unload it. Okay, I love you as a hitter. Don't get me wrong. But I love the arm.
Right.
Okay, that can play late innings, too. I got no problem with that. But me as your agent, sorry, Scott Boras, you've been fired. Me as your agent, I'm going to put you back on the mound. And he said, okay, well, what are you going to do? I said, I'll give you a month to get back into pitching shape. I said, you still can throw hard? He said, oh, yeah, which I knew anyway. I said, let's put the over-under on the miles per hour at 95. And without hesitation, he said, go ahead and take the over. And then I said, would your curveball drop a foot and a half? You go, make it 2.
They would call that a lock.
Well, let's get you signed back up. Let's do it.
It would be fun. But as I told you, I had hip surgery last November, and I don't think it would work out. And I like being a father. I like being around the kids as much as I can. So.
And you like the headsets. You like being around guys like me and the cat.
Yeah, well, it's way more fun to watch out there and talk about what those guys are doing.
The pressure's a little different, so that's good.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. A lot less stressful.
Absolutely. Hang out with us. Here's a 0-1 pitch to Jerko, and he taps it foul.
And if I mess up here, I don't have to go talk to 5 reporters about it.
That's the nice part, too. We were always good to you, weren't we?
You were, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You only told us to shut up every once in a while.
I just ask you, what did you mean?
That was a standard.
And then when you come up with a new question, I just say, next question.
You had it down. As I say to many, is that when you're interviewed, you control the message. Right? I mean, you control what you want to say.
The biggest thing that I would tell young guys, too, if you get asked a question that you really feel uncomfortable with,
no comment.
No comment, or just talk about something else that you felt like talking about.
That's another way to do it.
Right.
Steer it the way you want.
Right.
Become a politician. The 2-2 pitch. The swing and a miss. Tim Trokey, our producer, says, Dan, shut up and read number 10. So that's what I'm going to do. Great way to see a game at Busch is with a group of your friends and family. Group tickets are on sale now. And groups of 20 or more receive incentives, including a discount of up to 50% off the gate price in most seating areas. For more details, visit cardinals.com/groups or call 314-345-9000. Rick will be with us on our telecast this year as Luke Voigt sends one out to right. Also making some appearances at the ballpark this season as well. Great to have him with us, and hope you're enjoying it. 2-1 after 7 here in Jupiter. Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you in part by Budweiser. Wherever legendary MLB moments happen, Budweiser will be there. By the Missouri Lottery. Every ticket played gives back to Missouri schools. So play it forward with the Missouri Lottery. And by Ford. Going further so you can. Two to 1 our score in the top of the 8th, and the lefty that made his debut in the big leagues a season ago, Ryan Sheriff, is in. We were watching Austin Gomber where some pitches are up, where a guy like Sheriff, he finds so much success with a good sinker down. A lot of ground balls. Got good stuff.
He's so dominant against lefties. And it reminds, when you talk about sinkers like that, I don't know if you remember J.C. Romero.
Oh,
for
yeah.
the Phillies, and he would run that sinker in on your hands. I would actually I wouldn't take my good bat up there. I would take one I didn't like because I knew he was going to break it. I swear.
So the gamer stayed in. It's so funny. I mean, guys have like BP bats, then a specific pitcher that they might face bat.
Yep.
And you had this is going to get broken bat.
I was not going to let him break my gamer.
That was
as we call it. This is my gamer.
Here's a 1-1 pitch.
And there it is right there. You see him trying to – that ball right there, J.C. Romero, he was so good at running that ball 3 inches in or keeping it just on the black. It's amazing. And whenever you would tell yourself, all right, I'm just going to take this one, he'd paint the black. And then you go to swing and it hits you in the knuckles.
Popped up, left side.
Ooh.
Calling for it, Mejia, and he makes the catch.
Henley almost got ran over, the
Sure
third base
did.
coach there. I want an interference call if he would have dropped it.
Got Bob Henley at third. Chip Hale, former manager. He's a bench coach. Tim Bogar, who's a player long time in the big leagues with Houston. He's at first. Mentioned Derek Lilliquist, a pitching coach. Kevin Long enjoyed success as a hitting coach with the Mets and Yankees. He's the hitting coach with Washington. And Dave Martinez, the manager. Alejandro Diaza with 1 out.
And then he does that to you. Throws you the slider. You're looking for that sinker in on your hands, thinking if it starts in, I'm going to take it, and there's a breaking ball, and no chance you can even swing it. Ugh. That's filthy.
I would say over the course of a season, you're going to use, let's say, 20 at least to 25 pitchers over the course of the 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Starters, relievers, any combination. Guy makes a spot start, whatever. And that's where the importance of depth in an organization shows itself. And this is a guy like Sheriff. If he's on a different team, he might be the lefty specialist on another team that comes in. But Cardinals have some good ones. Look at that run in. Jam them. 2 down. The point being, you're going to need them at some point. This season, we've got great giveaways with the jersey giveaways, including 2 embroidered jerseys, a kid's jersey, Cardinals hockey jersey, and more. And get tickets to some of the jersey giveaway game dates through the 10-game jersey pack, or buy them as a single game ticket right now at Cardinals.com. That last pitch was a great example of the run that you were talking about. That's lifted out to left, and Ryan Sheriff has a 1-2-3, top of the 8th. The Cardinals lead it by the score of 2-1. Team induction ceremony?
Mark McGuire.
McGuire's, that's who it was. It's pretty neat.
Oh, it was unbelievable.
Yep.
And just to see how sincere he was and really what it meant to him was incredible.
Emotional.
And a lot of time that's what the fans don't get to see is people's true personality. And I felt like Mark was the most sensitive, one of the most wonderful human beings on the planet when it comes to just being a friend and caring for people. And a lot of times you don't get to see that from the outside.
Edmundo Sosa. He's listed in the top 20 of prospects, according to Baseball America, for the Cardinals. He's gotten a chance to play shortstop, second base, little third base, too. And the Cardinals have a lead of 2-1. 9 hits in this game, just 4 for the Cardinals. 5 for Washington. That's one of the neat aspects for me. I get to see it, obviously, but I see out in the crowd some of the faces I haven't seen in a long time. Now, I get to see you a lot, but seeing the former players come out, support their teammate, what it means to them, then they get, many times they'll get acknowledged by the crowd, and that's neat. It brings it full circle. We saw that with Willie McGee, who got up there in that first class, and place was packed to see him, and he said, man, this is hard. He got up there and he looked out and said, this is hard. Here's a high fly ball into deep center field, and the catch is made on the track. Was Willie around much when you were playing?
My first year was when he retired, so I got to see him. Tony brought him out of the game early to get the standing ovation, so I got a chance to spend some time with Willie there.
So you were 99.
Yeah, I came up at the end of 99.
That's right. Okay.
Yep.
I keep thinking 2000 was your first year.
First full season. Talk about being humble.
Oh, man. I emceed Whitey Herzog's golf tournament this last year, and it was a reunion of the 87 teams. So Whitey was on stage, I was on stage, and we'd bring up individuals. So it could be John Tudor or Danny Cox or Ricky, and I would say their numbers or whatever and just ask them a question or two. And then Whitey, who is so sharp, would remember exactly what the player did in that year. I mean, to a T. It's unbelievable. But he said one of the most amazing things I had heard ever about Willie McGee. He said, you know, we've got guys like Albert Pujols and Mark McGwire, Stan Musial, Bob Gibson. He said, but I'm not sure there is a more popular player in the history of the Cardinals than Willie McGee. And when you say that, with some of the names I just mentioned, that is quite a statement.
That's huge. And I would agree. I think St. Louis is going to welcome Willie so well this season. It's going to be so neat to see him on the bench with those guys and working with those guys. And I had a chance to work with him in fantasy camp, and we were talking about teaching outfield and just listening to how simple he makes it in some of the drills and the way that he tries to get across his message working with the outfielders was outstanding. I learned a lot.
He said he's still trying to figure out, you know, a guy like Oquendo is kind of in your face, you know, very to the point. Put it this way, you get the point real quickly when he's making his point. And there's other times, it's kind of like, you know, do you get in a guy's face or do you give him, is it time to give him a little pat on the back? You know, you got to figure out how to massage it. And Willie said, I'm still kind of figuring that out, but people seem to gravitate towards him because they want to learn, they want to know. And he's a very good instructor, and it's not like it's foreign to him. And I think that's something that gets misunderstood, is that he's been traveling in the minor leagues over the last handful of years teaching kids. So it's not like, hey, we brought him out and we're going to bring him up here to coach. He's been doing it.
Yeah, exactly. You know, that's one of the things we talked about, and we were working with the fantasy campers, and you know, he's breaking it down to the simplest things you have to do. And he's like, the first thing I tell him is you got to keep your eye on the ball. So we were standing there, he picks up the ball and he tosses it to the guy. He's like, I want you to think this is a $100 bill. And he tossed it to him. He's like, because nobody's going to let a $100 bill go, right? And then they watch it all the way into the glove. And I thought that was so great.
It's a good way to do it. Here's Oscar Mercado. He's one of those young players that's made an impression so far, in particular with his speed. He's transitioned from being a top pick as a shortstop to now playing in the outfield. That's the other thing I find really interesting is the stories behind these players. You obviously were a front page story going from pitching to outfield. But Mercado, shortstop to outfield. Carson Kelly, third baseman to a catcher. Tui Valala, an infielder to a closer. Tommy Pham, a shortstop to an outfielder. I mean, Major League Baseball just has a way of finding the right way and right position to put you in.
No question. And I think that's what's so important for our youth to remember is don't get stuck at one position, even though you might feel like you get more credibility if I'm the shortstop or if I'm the center fielder. But allowing yourself to play different positions, you're going to learn the game from a different angle. And wherever you end up, that's going to help you in the future because you're going to understand the game a little bit more.
0-1 the count here on Mercado. In the bottom of the eighth, Dominic Leone, picked up in the Randall Grichuk deal from Toronto, is throwing in the Cardinal pen. Jaime Garcia, Ledmus Diaz, Randall Grichuk, all now members of the Toronto Blue Jays. May have broken his bat, and it's out of play. He did break his bat. How many bats do guys go through Major League season?
Depends who you are. If you're Albert Pujols, probably one.
Everything's hit on the screws, right?
Yes. But I think for most people, you know, I would say one or two a week. You know, you're breaking one or two a week.
Yeah.
You know.
Nice play made by a fan down the right field line.
Could depend on the week.
Well, if you got Mariano Rivera lined up in that series, and you're a left-handed batter, you're going to break some bats.
Yep, just plan on it.
Yeah.
That's okay, too. Look at Luis Gonzalez. He broke his bat, but the world champion, won him the World Series with that hit he got.
A little floater over short.
Yep. Those count, too, right?
That's exactly right. 2 outs, runner at first, and the 0-2 pitch to Mercado. Runner goes, doesn't matter. It's a strikeout, and with that, it sends us to the 9th. Leone coming on. What a play in right. Sign him up. Stand up. Descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. Top of the 9th, and it's 2-1. Cardinals with the lead. Our next telecast will be on Friday night. The Cardinals and Astros. That'll be the only night game that we'll feature. And the only night game, by the way, that the Cardinals will play in spring training this year. As Dominic Leone wears number 55, takes over. His numbers a season ago, at one point he had a stretch. He was unhittable with Toronto. He has pitched in the National League. He was with Arizona at one point. Jose Marmolejeos. And the first pitch is strike. A reminder, there are opening day tickets still available at Cardinals.com. And some great values in terms of the packs that are available for fans. Single game tickets are on sale. Schedule features weekend dates with the Cubs, so head to Cardinals.com and take a look. 1 ball and 1 strike. And a ground ball that's hit to short. 1 away. Our Budweiser plays of the game, and Ricky Ankiel, former pitcher, you love this. Best friend, your double play.
Best pitch in baseball, as they say.
This is the key play in the game, the relay to the plate. The strike from Breivik Valero with Gomber on the mound, and the tag by Molina, and started by Dexter Fowler. 3 double plays turned today. There's Jonathan Solano. Leone features a hard slider when right. And can get those ground balls, especially against right-handed batters. A lot of times you'll see him reach.
Yep, that, and you can definitely see some good movement on that fastball.
And there it is there. The movement late on the outer half. 2 balls and no strikes. Patrick Wisdom is taking over at first base. Seeing more time at first base than he is at third. Here's a 2-0 pitch. 2-1.
It's good to see this early in camp. 2-0. He's throwing a slider. He's got control of it. Just not giving away that fastball right there.
What's the hardest thing to do for a pitcher in camp in terms of trying to get a feel for what they want to do to get ready for the regular season? Is it the slider, the breaking ball, that pitch, more so than locating a fastball?
I think it's command of both, but, the biggest thing, usually in April, guys, it's a little chilly. Guys don't have control of that off-speed stuff, and as a hitter, you can go up there kind of hunting fastballs at the beginning of the season, especially at the beginning of spring. It's the same thing. It takes a little while to get control of those breaking pitches.
2-2 the count.
And then just physically getting in shape to be able to throw more innings and throw longer.
Sure.
It's a process.
We saw Luke Weaver go 3 innings today. Tanner Roark went 4 for Washington. You're starting to get to that point now where the starters will give you 5, maybe 6. 6 might be a stretch, but 5 innings for sure.
Yeah, same thing for position players. It's all about building your stamina up right now. And right now you can, that first part of spring, you're going, you're getting after it. Right now you're almost getting there. And then I would say when we get about to, another week or so, 2 weeks is when they'll just turn it on full tilt. You'll see those starters out there for the entire game, and now you're getting ready. Game time.
You also have a better idea. You know, I think right now it's a question mark for the Cardinals, the back end of ball games. And as Mo said, it's still a work in progress. He was with us in the 6th inning, but you see how Mike Matheny starts to play the game too. And that might be more of an indication of, okay, here's what you may see 7th, 8th, and 9th innings of the games early on. 3-2 pitch, struck him out. With that, there's 2 away. The pitching on both sides has been good today. No errors in this game. 5 hits aside on both sides, and now the Nationals down to their final out.
You know, one thing about Leon, too, is that he's really good against left-handers and right-handers. It's not just against right-handers. So when you're looking at closer options or back into the bullpen, he certainly is going to come into play because of that, because he's able to get right and left-handed people out, and you're not just out there playing matchups.
It's a good action on that pitch. $18 home runs last year in the minor leagues for this left-handed batter. 2 outs and nobody on. Fouled back, and it's 0-2.
Slider or high fastball right here? What do you got?
Elevate the fastball.
I like it.
The 0-2.
There it is.
All right, now what are you going with if Mejia doesn't get it, and he won't? What do you think, slider in the dirt?
You either go slider in the dirt or you run another fastball just a little bit higher. Either one you're not going to get hurt on if you make your pitch, that's for sure. And you got him 0-2, so you could change the eye level.
Here's the 0-2.
Got away with that one.
You sure did.
I'm sure he's trying to bury that into that back foot. Now here's where I go high fastball, just because I threw a slider up in the zone, and that's the last thing he saw. So now I throw that high fastball right off of that pitch.
0-2. Got him. Struck him out. And a final of 2-1 as the Cardinals defeat the Washington Nationals. Rick Ankiel, great to have you in the booth today. We'll see you on Friday.
Yep, thank you. It was great to be up here.
5 o'clock on Friday night. The Cardinals win this.